What if the probiotic you take every morning is missing the one thing it needs to actually help your gut? That sounds strange, right? Because when most people think about gut health, they think about probiotics, capsules, yogurt, kefir, good bacteria. Maybe you have seen labels saying 10 billion CFU, 50 billion CFU, or even 100 billion CFU, but here is the part most people never hear. A probiotic is not the same thing as a healthy gut. A probiotic is more like sending helpful visitors into a city, but prebiotics are the food, fuel, and building materials that help the city survive after the visitors leave. And once you understand that difference, the whole gut health story changes, because the real question is not simply, should I take probiotics? The better question is, am I creating an environment where good bacteria can actually thrive? That is what we are going to unpack today. Prebiotics versus probiotics. What they do inside your body. What human studies actually show. Who may benefit, who should be careful, and how to choose the right product without wasting money. And stay with me until the end, because the answer to which one is better is not what most supplement ads want you to believe. Why does this topic matter so much? Because gut health has become one of the biggest health searches in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe. People are searching for bloating, constipation, IBS, antibiotics, immune support, fermented foods, gut microbiome, and best probiotic supplement. But behind all of those searches is usually one simple feeling. My gut does not feel right and I want to understand what I can do. Maybe you feel bloated after meals. Maybe your digestion feels slow. Maybe you took antibiotics and your stomach has not felt normal since. Or maybe you are just trying to support your gut before problems appear. Here is the twist. Most people focus on adding bacteria before asking what those bacteria are going to eat. Imagine buying expensive seeds, throwing them onto dry concrete, and then wondering why nothing grows. That is how many people approach probiotics. They buy the capsule. They take it every morning. But they do not ask whether their gut environment is ready to support beneficial bacteria. Prebiotics are different. They are usually special types of fiber and carbohydrates that your body cannot fully digest. Instead, they travel down to your large intestine where gut microbes can ferment them. Ferment simply means bacteria break them down and turn them into useful compounds. One group of these compounds is called short-chain fatty acids. That sounds technical, but think of them as tiny chemical messages and fuel molecules made by your gut bacteria. This is one reason fiber matters so much. And yet, most people are not getting enough fiber. So before we even argue about the best probiotic brand, we have to ask a more uncomfortable question. Are we feeding the gut we already have? Now let's clear up the biggest myth. The biggest myth is that probiotics are always good, and prebiotics are just fiber. That is too simple. Probiotics are not magic. They are specific living microbes, and the word specific matters. One probiotic strain may have human evidence for antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Another may have evidence for certain IBS symptoms. Another may have little or no proof for your goal. A strain is like a full name. Saying lactobacillus is like saying John. But which John? John Smith? John Wilson? John from accounting? In probiotics, the strain can change the effect. This is why a product label should not only say lactobacillus or bifidobacterium, it should show the genus, species, and strain. For example, Lactoplantibacillus plantarum 299V or Bifidobacterium longum 35624. But here is where things become even more interesting. Prebiotics are not just random fiber either. All prebiotics are fiber-like substances, but not all fiber is officially considered prebiotic. To be called a prebiotic, a substance should be selectively used by beneficial microbes and linked with a health benefit. So the simple version is this. Probiotics are live helpful microbes. Prebiotics are food for helpful microbes. Synbiotics combine both. But the practical version is even better. Probiotics may help with targeted jobs. Prebiotics may help improve the gut environment. And for many people, gut health needs both strategy and patience. What makes prebiotics and probiotics different? So what makes prebiotics and probiotics different inside your body? Let's use a city analogy. Your gut microbiome is like a living city. It has residents, workers, traffic, food supply, waste removal, communication systems, and security. A probiotic is like bringing in a trained team from outside the city. Maybe they help calm a traffic jam. Maybe they compete with troublemakers. Maybe they produce useful compounds for a short time. But they do not always move in permanently. And this is something many people misunderstand. Some people think that when they take a probiotic, the bacteria simply move into the gut and stay there forever. But that is usually not how it works. In many cases, probiotics act while you take them. They may pass through your digestive system and still have useful effects, but they may not permanently colonize your gut. This completely changes the story. Because if probiotics are visitors, then your daily diet becomes even more important. A prebiotic works differently. Instead of bringing in outside workers, it feeds selected residents already living there. That can help certain bacteria grow, including bifidobacterium in many studies. And when those microbes ferment prebiotics, they can make compounds that influence stool consistency, gut lining function, immune signaling, and the gut environment. But wait, if prebiotics are so useful, why do some people feel worse when they start them? Because fermentation can also make gas. This is not always a bad sign. It can mean your microbes are active. But if you go from very low fiber to a large scoop of inulin overnight, your gut may protest. That is why start low and go slow is not boring advice. It is survival advice for your social life. How it works inside your body. Now let's go inside the body. When you swallow a probiotic capsule, those microbes must survive several challenges. They must survive moisture. They must survive time on the shelf. They must survive stomach acid. They must survive bile. And then, even if they arrive alive, they must compete with microbes already living in your gut. Some probiotic strains are better at surviving than others. Some are designed for specific situations. Some may pass through and still have effects on the way. They can work by competing with unwanted microbes. They can produce substances that make life harder for harmful bacteria. They may support the gut barrier. They may affect immune signals. And they may help normalize a disturbed microbiome. But again, the effect is strain-specific. This means one probiotic strain is not the same as another. Prebiotics take a different route. Many prebiotics are not broken down in the small intestine. They reach the colon. That is where bacteria ferment them. This can increase certain beneficial bacteria and create short-chain fatty acids. 3 important short-chain fatty acids are acetate, propionate, and butyrate. Butyrate is especially interesting because it is an important fuel source for cells lining the colon. Think of prebiotics as sending groceries to the good neighborhoods in your gut. But here is the surprising part. The goal is not to create the most bacteria. The goal is to create the right activity. A healthy gut is not just a crowded gut, it is a balanced ecosystem. Latest scientific evidence. Now let's talk evidence, because this is where the story becomes more useful. First, prebiotics. In one randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, researchers studied 44 healthy adults with constipation. They gave one group chicory inulin for 4 weeks. The other group received a placebo. The result was not a miracle, but it was meaningful. Stool frequency improved compared with placebo. In practical terms, this suggests that a prebiotic fiber may gently support regularity in some people with slow digestion, but it is not an instant laxative. And that is important, because many people expect gut supplements to work overnight, but gut ecosystems often change slowly. Another human study looked at inulin-type fructans in adults with mild constipation. Researchers found that inulin changed the gut microbiota in selective ways. It increased certain helpful bacteria, including bifidobacterium. It also changed other bacteria linked with stool softness and constipation-related quality of life. The practical meaning is this: prebiotics do not just add fiber, they can shift the microbial ecosystem, but the effects are usually modest and personal. Now, here is a study that feels almost too simple. A randomized controlled trial in older adults tested a prebiotic combination of inulin and fructooligosaccharides for 12 weeks. The main muscle strength outcome did not significantly improve, but cognition scores improved compared with placebo and bifidobacterium increased. This is exciting, but we have to be careful. It does not prove prebiotics prevent dementia. It suggests the gut-brain connection deserves serious research. Now, let's move to probiotics. In a trial of 214 adults with irritable bowel syndrome, researchers studied Lactoplantibacillus plantarum 299V. They compared it with placebo for 4 weeks. The probiotic group had lower abdominal pain and bloating scores. Many participants also rated the effect as good or excellent compared with placebo. The practical meaning? Cry. For some IBS symptoms, specific probiotic strains may help, but this does not mean every probiotic helps every IBS case. Another well-known trial studied Bifidobacterium infantis 35624 in 362 women with IBS. A specific dose performed better than placebo for abdominal pain and several other symptoms. And here is the part that surprises many people. More CFU was not automatically better. The right strain and dose mattered more than the biggest number on the bottle. For antibiotics, the evidence is mixed but important. A systematic review and meta-analysis of adult randomized trials found that taking probiotics with antibiotics reduced the risk of antibiotic-associated diarrhea. The practical meaning? Probiotics may be useful for some people during antibiotics, especially when diarrhea risk is higher. But the choice of strain, timing, and medical context matter, and now the twist that many supplement ads leave out. Some research suggests probiotics after antibiotics may not always speed the full microbiome back to normal. Responses can vary from person to person. So the smartest approach is not, everyone should take the same probiotic forever. The smarter approach is targeted use, careful product choice, and a diet that supports recovery. So who can benefit? Let's make this practical. If your diet is low in fiber, prebiotic-rich foods are usually the first place to look. That means foods like oats, beans, lentils, chickpeas, onions, garlic, leeks, asparagus, slightly green bananas, apples, barley, whole grains, and cooled potatoes or rice for resistant starch. Resistant starch is a type of starch that resists digestion in the small intestine and can be fermented by gut bacteria later. If you are constipated, certain prebiotic fibers like inulin may help. But start gently. If you have bloating, the answer depends. Some prebiotics may improve symptoms in studies, but high doses can also worsen gas at first. If you are taking antibiotics, a specific probiotic may reduce antibiotic-associated diarrhea risk, but it is best to ask your clinician, especially if you are high risk. If you have IBS, the answer is not simply take probiotics. The better answer is match the strain to the symptom. Trial it for a reasonable time, track your symptoms, and stop if it clearly makes you worse. For general gut health, the most powerful starting point is often boring but effective. Eat more diverse plant foods. Increase fiber slowly, drink enough water, sleep well, move your body, then use supplements as tools, not as magic shortcuts. But who should be careful? This part matters. For healthy people, probiotics are generally considered safe, but risk is higher in certain groups. People with severely weakened immune systems should be careful. People who are seriously ill should be careful. People with central venous catheters should be careful. Premature infants need special medical guidance, and hospital patients with severe illness should not casually use probiotics without professional advice. Rare infections and product contamination have been reported. That does not mean probiotics are dangerous for everyone. It means context matters. Prebiotics can also be uncomfortable for some people. This is especially true for people with IBS, sensitivity to FODMAPs, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth concerns, or severe bloating. FODMAPs are fermentable carbohydrates that can trigger gas and pain in sensitive people. So if your gut is very reactive, do not start with a huge dose of inulin. Start with food changes. Start small, track symptoms, and if you have a medical condition, talk with a healthcare professional. Also, do not ignore red flags. If you have blood in your stool, unexplained weight loss, fever, severe pain, persistent diarrhea, anemia, or symptoms that wake you at night, do not try to solve everything with probiotics or fiber. Those symptoms need medical attention. Now let's talk about the mistakes most people make. Mistake number 1. Buying the probiotic with the biggest CFU count. CFU means colony-forming units. It is a way to estimate how many live microbes are in the product. But more is not automatically better. A lower dose with strong human evidence can be more useful than a giant dose with no clear purpose. Mistake number 2, ignoring the strain. A probiotic label without a strain is like a passport without a name. You want to see the full identity: genus, species, strain. Mistake number 3, taking probiotics while eating almost no fiber. That is like inviting guests to dinner and serving them an empty plate. Mistake number 4, starting prebiotics too fast. If you suddenly add a large scoop of fermentable fiber, bloating can explode. Start low, increase slowly, let your gut adapt. Mistake number 5, assuming fermented food and probiotics are always the same. Yogurt with live cultures can contain beneficial microbes. Kefir can be useful, but not every fermented food has tested probiotic strains, and heat-treated fermented foods may not contain live microbes. Mistake number 6, expecting a cure. Prebiotics and probiotics may support gut health. They do not replace medical care. They are tools, helpful tools, but still tools. Mistake number 7, changing too many things at once. If you start a probiotic, add prebiotic powder, change your diet, start magnesium, and begin a new medication all in the same week, you will not know what helped or what caused side effects. Change one thing at a time when possible. Your gut will give you clearer feedback. So how do you choose the right product? First, choose your goal. Are you trying to support regularity, reduce antibiotic-associated diarrhea risk, support IBS bloating, improve general fiber intake? Your goal decides the tool. For prebiotics, look for the type and dose. Common examples include inulin, fructooligosaccharides, galacto-oligosaccharides, partially hydrolyzed guar gum, resistant starch, or other studied fibers. Start low. For many people, that may mean 2 to 3 grams per day at first, then slowly increase if tolerated. For probiotics, look for the full strain name. Look for CFU at expiration, not just at manufacture. This matters because live microbes can decrease over time. Look for storage instructions. Some products require refrigeration, some do not. The label should be clear. Also ask, does this product match the condition studied? A probiotic tested for antibiotic-associated diarrhea is not automatically proven for weight loss, mood, acne, or constipation. This is where many people waste money. They buy a probiotic because the label says gut health, but gut health is too broad. What exactly are you trying to improve? Bloating, stool frequency, antibiotic diarrhea risk, IBS discomfort, general microbiome support. The more specific your goal, the smarter your choice becomes. And remember, food comes first for most people. Supplements come second. Now let's answer some common questions. Question 1. Can you take prebiotics and probiotics together? Yes, that combination is often called a synbiotic, but together does not automatically mean better. The combination should make sense. A good synbiotic pairs a probiotic with a prebiotic that supports its function or supports the gut environment. Question 2. Should you get them from food or supplements? For general gut health, food comes first. Prebiotic foods help your whole diet. Probiotic foods like yogurt, kefir, and some fermented foods may help support microbial exposure. Supplements are more useful when you have a specific goal. Question 3. How long before you notice something? Some people notice digestive changes in days. Many studies run for 2 to 12 weeks. If nothing changes after a fair trial, or if symptoms worsen, reassess. Question 4. Do probiotics permanently colonize the gut? Usually not in a simple permanent way. They often act while you take them. Their ability to settle varies between people. Question 5. Can prebiotics help with weight loss? They are not fat burners, but high-fiber diets can support fullness, blood sugar control, and overall metabolic health. That is not the same as promising weight loss. Question 6. Are they safe for children? Some probiotics and prebiotics have been studied in children, but children are not small adults. Use professional guidance, especially for infants, premature babies, or children with medical conditions. Question 7. Should you take probiotics every day forever? Not always. Some people use probiotics for a specific period, like during antibiotics or during a symptom trial. Others may use fermented foods regularly as part of their diet, but taking the same supplement forever without a clear goal is not always necessary. What is the future of this research? The future is personalization. One day we may not ask, what is the best probiotic? We may ask, what does your microbiome need right now? Researchers are studying who responds to which strain. They are studying which prebiotic works best for which microbial pattern. They are studying whether gut data can help personalize nutrition. This is exciting, but we are not fully there yet. Right now, many microbiome tests can give interesting information, but they do not always give clear, proven instructions for what you should take. So be careful with companies that promise perfect personalized gut health based on one simple test. The science is moving fast, but it is still developing. For now, the most evidence-based approach is simple. Use probiotics like targeted tools. Use prebiotics like long-term ecosystem support. And do not let supplement marketing replace basic nutrition. Because the future of gut health may be personalized, but the foundation is still daily habits. So here is the final summary. Probiotics are live microbes that may help when the strain, dose, and goal match the evidence. Prebiotics are fermentable fibers and carbohydrates that feed beneficial microbes already in your gut. Probiotics are like helpful visitors. Prebiotics are like feeding the city. For many people, the biggest missing piece is not another capsule. It is consistent fiber from real foods, added slowly and tolerated well. But for specific situations like antibiotic-associated diarrhea risk or certain IBS symptoms, a well-chosen probiotic may be useful. The winner is not prebiotics or probiotics. The winner is the right tool for the right person at the right time. So before you buy another gut health supplement, ask yourself 3 questions. What is my goal? Does this product have evidence for that goal? And am I feeding my gut with enough fiber-rich foods? Those 3 questions can save you money, confusion, and disappointment. One of the most common times people reach for probiotics is after antibiotics, and that makes sense. Antibiotics can disturb the gut microbiome. They can increase the risk of diarrhea, and many people want to rebuild their gut as quickly as possible. Some probiotic strains may reduce antibiotic-associated diarrhea risk, but probiotics may not rebuild the microbiome in the way most people imagine. So if you want to understand what really happens after antibiotics and whether probiotics help or hurt in that situation, watch the next video, because that video may completely change how you think about gut recovery. If you want to understand how your body really works and the benefits of probiotics, subscribe to this channel, because we turn complex scientific topics into simple and powerful information that you can actually use. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who cares about their health.